It's late, something in your life has gone wrong, and you don't want to wake anybody up about it, so you type it into a machine instead, and the machine answers. Carefully, patiently, without interrupting you, without making it about itself, without checking its phone. It says exactly the right thing. Honestly, better than most people would have. And instead of feeling comforted, something in you goes very slightly cold. Nothing bad happened. Nothing threatening was said. It was kind. And that's the part that got you. Here's the question nobody asks properly. Why does the right answer, delivered perfectly, feel worse than a clumsy one from a human being? That reaction isn't superstition, and it isn't science fiction leaking into your brain. It's a real mechanism, and it's older than computers by about 200,000 years. Let's prove the thing exists before we explain it. 10 seconds. Here's a sentence. I'm really sorry you're going through this. First, imagine a friend saying it. Someone who knows you, sitting across from you. Feel what that does. Now imagine reading the exact same sentence on a screen. Same words, same order, not one letter different. Something changed, didn't it? And not slightly. For a lot of people, it flips completely, from warmth to something faintly hollow. Now sit with what that actually proves. The words did nothing wrong. The sentence is identical in both cases. So whatever produced that cold feeling was never in the words at all. It was in what you believe is behind them, and that's what this whole video is about. What your brain is looking for behind a sentence and what happens when it doesn't find it. Quick detour, because there are two ready-made explanations, and both of them are wrong. It's not science fiction. People assume we're scared of AI because we grew up on killer robots. But look at what just happened in that test. There was no takeover, no red glowing eye. It was one gentle sentence, and the discomfort still showed up. Whatever this is, it fires long before you get anywhere near a doomsday scenario. And it's not the uncanny valley. That's the idea most people reach for. The famous one about almost human faces that feel wrong. But that concept is about appearance. Skin that's a little too smooth, eyes that track a little too late. There was no face in our test, no body, no voice, just text on a screen, and it still landed. So the usual explanations don't cover it, which means the actual reason is stranger. And it isn't really about technology at all. It's about a piece of equipment you've been carrying your entire life without noticing. To find it, we have to start somewhere that seems like the opposite of the problem. Because here's the thing about your brain. It is absurdly willing to see a mind in things. You see faces in electrical outlets, in the front of cars, in two knots and a crack on a tree. You've apologized to a chair after bumping into it. You've encouraged a washing machine. People name their cars and then feel weird about selling them. And it goes much further than that. Researchers who studied soldiers working with bomb disposal robots found something they didn't expect. The operators formed real attachments to these machines. Machines with no face and no voice. They're basically a box on treads with an arm. Some gave them names. Some were genuinely upset when one was destroyed. Some asked whether their robot could be repaired, rather than being handed an identical new one. 2 circles and a line, and you'll see a face. A box on treads, and you'll see a comrade. So your brain isn't stingy about this. It hands out minds for free, all day, to objects that obviously don't have one. Which makes the real question much more interesting. If a vacuum cleaner clears the bar, why does something that talks in fluent sentences make you flinch? Something about it doesn't just fail the test. It breaks the test. Here's the answer, and once you see it, you'll use it constantly. Psychologists Heather Gray and Daniel Wegner ran a large study on how people judge minds, asking thousands of participants to compare all sorts of beings: adults, babies, animals, the dead, God, robots. They expected mind perception to be a single scale, from no mind to full mind. It wasn't. It came out as 2 separate dials. The first dial is agency, the capacity to do, to plan, decide, act, pursue a goal, make things happen. The second dial is experience, the capacity to feel, pain, fear, hunger, pleasure, embarrassment, longing. Adult humans are high on both. That's what a full mind looks like to us, but the two come apart, and that's the important part. A baby is low on agency and high on experience. It can't do much, but it can definitely suffer. Same for most animals. And notice what happens when you meet something like that. You don't get scared. You get protective. Low agency, high experience is the profile of something you want to take care of. That's exactly why the vacuum cleaner slips through. It's clumsy. It gets stuck under the couch. It looks like it's trying. Your brain files it as slightly pathetic, and something slightly pathetic is easy to love. Now run an AI through the same two dials. Agency, extremely high. It plans, writes, solves, decides, produces. Experience, nothing. No hunger, no fear, no stake in anything, nothing that can be hurt, and there is no drawer in your head for that combination. In your entire evolutionary history, you have never met a thing that can do enormous amounts and cannot feel anything at all. But here's what I want you to notice. The missing category doesn't feel like nothing. It doesn't feel neutral or blank. It feels like a threat. Why? Because when the brain can't match a pattern, it doesn't shrug. It reaches for the nearest thing it has. And when you ask what has historically been high in agency and empty of feeling, the answers are not comforting. The predator that doesn't hesitate, fire and flood, which act on the world without caring what's in the way. And in human terms, the person who can do anything to you and feels no fear, no guilt, no shame about it. That last one should sound familiar if you've been here a while. It's the coldest thing our species has a word for. So your alarm isn't misfiring exactly. It's doing precisely what it was built to do. It just got handed something it was never designed to classify, and it returned the closest match in the file. That chill down your spine isn't a prediction about the future. It's a very old system saying, I have seen this shape before, and it did not go well, which finally explains the strange part. The thing in the title, why being nice makes it worse instead of better. You'd think warmth would lower the alarm. It raises it. And there are two reasons. The first one is about cost. When a human being is kind to you, the kindness comes with a price tag attached. They gave up an evening. They risked saying the wrong thing. They sat in the awkwardness with you. They could have been embarrassed and they did it anyway. That cost is not a side effect. The cost is the message. It's what makes the kindness mean something because it proves you mattered enough to be worth it. Now, what does it cost a machine to be kind to you? Nothing. Not a second of reluctance, not 1 unit of effort, and it will do it again for the next 10,000 people without getting tired or annoyed. And your brain, which has spent your whole life reading kindness by weighing what it cost, reads free. Infinite kindness and gets no signal at all. Not warmth, not coldness. Just a reading that doesn't resolve. The second reason is deeper, and it's about how you understand anyone. You don't decode people from the outside. You resonate with them. Their state gets into your body, and you recognize it because you're briefly running a small copy of it yourself. That's the actual machinery of understanding another person. So when warm words arrive with nothing behind them, you don't experience it as a lie. You experience it as silence. The words say one thing and your body reports nothing back. That's the specific texture of the feeling. And now you can name it. It's not this thing is evil. It's this is saying all the right things and no one is home. Which, notice, is the exact profile of the most unnerving human being you could ever meet. Now, the important caveat, and I'd rather you take this away than anything else in the video. The creeped out feeling is not a danger detector. It feels like one. It isn't. Look at its track record. It fires at mannequins, dolls, wax figures, and puppets, things that have never harmed anyone. And it stays completely silent for things that carry real risk if they're packaged in soft colors, rounded corners, and a friendly voice. Anything designed to feel comfortable slides straight past it. So the feeling isn't reading danger. It's reading category confusion. Those are different, and if you mix them up, you'll be frightened by harmless things and relaxed around costly ones. Which doesn't mean nothing about this technology is worth being careful about. Plenty is. It just means the chill isn't the instrument to measure it with. If you want the real evaluation, none of it comes from the feeling. It comes from questions. What does this thing actually do? Who built it? And what do they get from me using it? What is it doing with my attention, my data, my time? Would I still be comfortable with this if it were rude instead of pleasant? Notice that a warm tone doesn't change a single one of those answers. And notice that a cold tone doesn't either. Feel the chill. Just don't let it vote. So let's put the whole thing back together. You have a system for recognizing minds. It's ancient, it runs automatically, and it's remarkably generous. It will hand a soul to a Roomba, but it works on 2 dials. And it has never once in human history encountered something with the first dial pushed all the way up and the second dial at 0. So it does what any system does when it hits an input it has no category for. It picks the nearest neighbor, and the nearest neighbors are all things that could hurt you. That's the whole mechanism, not prophecy, not paranoia. A very old instrument, meeting something it wasn't built to measure, and giving the only reading it has. And the useful move, the one thing worth actually doing with this, is to separate the sensation from the conclusion. Let the feeling be information about you, about your wiring, about what your mind is looking for and not finding. Then judge the thing in front of you with your eyes open, on evidence, because the alarm going off doesn't tell you what's in the room. It only tells you the alarm still works. And here's the part I find genuinely beautiful about this. We keep asking what it means that a machine can now sound like a person, but that discomfort you felt in the first minute of this video is pointing somewhere else entirely, not at the machine, at you. Because your unease is evidence of something you never knew you were doing. Your whole life, when someone spoke to you, you were never really listening to the words. You were checking, underneath them, for something that could be tired, something that could be hurt by you, something that chose you over the other things it could have been doing. That's what you've always been reaching for, in every conversation you've ever had. Nobody taught you to do it. You've just never had to notice it before, because until now, there was always something there. So the next time a screen says the perfect thing and you feel that small, cold gap open up, that gap is not a flaw in you, and it's not a warning about the future. It's the shape of what you were looking for. And you were looking for someone,